Tom, it's such a pleasure to welcome you.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are a legend, and a lot of people are grateful, especially young people. While I was walking behind you from the hall, I had people come run up to me say, "Can I take a picture with Tom? Can I say hello to him?" So you have already built a huge following.
Surprising.
And the good thing about is that it's all for a good cause, or causes, I should say. So let's start with your efforts related to the environment.
I started NextGen 5 years ago because I was worried that as a country we were not going to be able to deal with our environmental challenges. And over the last month we've seen vast wildfires in the West. We've seen Hurricane Harvey, we've seen Hurricane Irma, we're seeing Hurricane Jose. We're obviously have not succeeded in meeting our environmental challenges. So that I think for young people, this isn't a problem, this is an escalating problem. Every year is going to be worse than the last. So they can see that their life is going to be severely impacted in a bad way. And so what we knew 5 years ago we were going to have to address, we still have to address. And I think that we're much further along in many ways, but the fact of the matter is politically, at the national level, we're still absolutely fumbling the ball.
So Tom, if you look back, and this happens with every generation, when you're young, when you're at school, you're always an activist. And the activism is always in you. But as you progress in life, you become a professional and maybe become an entrepreneur, the activism kind of fizzles away. How do you keep that thing going for the longer term? Because it is for the good of all of us.
Well, I think that the person who originally said it, I think Winston Churchill said, if you're not a liberal when you're young, you have no heart. And if you're not a conservative when you're old, you have no brain. But of course, he's someone who was a liberal when he was young and changed the Conservative Party. So he was trying to excuse his own behavior, as far as I'm concerned. The truth of the matter is that I think everybody has a responsibility to their community. And I think in the United States of America, in a democracy, everybody has to participate. So for old people who are too selfish to participate, I feel like that's not acceptable. And for the people who are actually working to harm the community, who are working against the interests of American citizens for their own gain, that's not something new in society. That's been going on as long as there have been selfish people, but that doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it okay.
So what has been happening is there are two extreme groups, and they're going to be opposing each other for a long time to come. Is there a middle ground, and how do we get there? Because there are some who completely defy science, they bring their own belief system into place. So how do we find that middle ground?
I'm not looking for a middle ground. I think that's a natural and positive instinct, but misplaced in this case. So for instance, if I hold up a cup over a rock and say I'm going to drop it, and you say I don't believe it'll fall, that could be true. You could say that, but that doesn't mean it's not going to fall.
Right.
And so we're watching all the results of climate happen, and the fact that they say that the glass won't fall and it won't shatter on the rock, there's no middle ground. They're the facts,
right,
and then they're something that they wish were true that isn't true. So I'm not looking for a middle ground. I'm looking for people who are willing to accept facts, and then we can talk about the best way to deal with them. But when you're just talking about the truth, there's the truth, and then there's lies, and we're not trying to get to a half-truth.
The other topic that's very close to your heart and to most of us is the education system. From where we were, a few decades back to where we are in terms of world standing, it's really, really bad shape. What are your efforts and what are your recommendations in this?
Well, I think the basic principle that we start from in everything, including in energy and climate, is the idea that every American has the same political rights and every American has the same right to respect and dignity. And so when we think about an education system, a failing education system, that is in effect legislating inequality for our society. That is taking away the rights for young people to determine how far they can go. And so as far as we're concerned, when you look at inequality in the United States of America, of course, it's incredibly complicated. We studied it for a year and a half, and it goes across a large number of traditional policy areas like education, but also like housing, transportation, incarceration. You can't look at it without thinking about race and ethnicity. It's a very complicated question. But in terms of education, it's very simple. We are not dedicating the resources to educate our children for the 21st century. And it's just about money.
I completely agree with you that a portion of GDP has to be increased and allocated for these initiatives. The counter argument is, we have been pouring money, it is not going the right way. So we need to change the way we spend money.
You can say that, just doesn't have to be true. You can say lots of things. The fact of the matter is we're not pouring in money. The fact of the matter is if you look in California on a cost-adjusted basis, we're 41st out of 50 states. If you look around the world, we're not devoting the resources, we're not prioritizing the education of our children. And if you want to look around the world at successful societies, there are societies that invest in their citizens, there are societies that invest in their young people. In the 21st century, success as well as justice is going to be based around an educated and productive workforce. And so the idea of not helping people reach their full potential is not only hurting them, but it's hurting all of society. And so the fact of the matter is all those people who say we're pouring money in, show me the numbers. I like to look, it's just like climate. You can say that, it just doesn't happen to be true.
And finally then, Tom, where does America's strengths finally lie? Where do we lead the world? We're still the leaders in the world.
I think when you look at a society, or you look at a company, or you look at a family, the thing that drives everything is culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture is who you are. And if you look at the American experiment, it's an experiment based on equality and opportunity and openness. With the exception of about 2% of our population that's Native American, everybody here came as immigrants. So with the exception of that 2%, we're not an indigenous people. So if you show up here from Guatemala tomorrow, you can be an American right off the bat. And so we're really an experiment about equality and progress together. And that is the thing that drives us. That is, as if we accept the spirit of the American experiment from 250 years ago, but including everybody as having full rights and respect and dignity, then I believe we are an unstoppable force. But to the extent we try and cut people out of that, to the extent we try and favor richer people or people from certain backgrounds over others, then we by definition splinter our force and make ourselves weaker. So to me, it's all about values and culture.
Tom, it's great to have you. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.